So there's the long form tickling and the short form tickling. It's not foreplay.
It's the Scott and Alley Not For Air podcast. The rules are gone. The shirt is untucked. Here's Scott and Alley.
Good morning, good afternoon, good everything. Good everyone.
Good everyone, yes.
Yes.
All right, it's the Scott and Alley Not For Air podcast here. And, okay. So I thought I'd give you a little piece of how relationships, I guess you could say, how you learn things about your person you're with.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll love this. So, and I showed this to Allie. So we were like, is this serious or not here? Because I didn't know how to react to it.
No, I thought it was serious. I've been wanting to talk about this for quite some time.
Okay, so here's the thing. So
not just the thing you showed me. I'm saying this whole thing in general.
Well, this was going to start with the phrase, does a pig paper towel holder equate to sooner or later a washboard decoratively hanging on a wall?
Yes, absolutely.
And to kind of bring it
and
into
checkered towels.
Yes, they're nice.
And bless this mass towel.
Yeah, right. So to bring this into where it is, so my significant other is a farmhouse chic, I guess you could call it, decorative style. Now, I automatically assumed, oh my God, my house is going to look like a Applebee's from 1999 or a barn.
but hillbilly style.
You're right. Well, fortunately, it's not. She's been starting to bring things in that have the look to it, and I'm getting it. Like it's a very homey look. So you got to realize, my house for the longest time, and it's kind of it had a bit of a modern vibe to it, and a bit, and God, do I say more sterile of a look? I mean, it wasn't.
I just don't think the washboard motif is for you at all. That is not who you. That's not like everything that I have. Everything that you pick is pretty modern. Like, you dress pretty modern. You're
pretty simple.
Anything that Scott, and it's not that you're like talking about decor with me that often, but anything decor, like anything you've shown me has always been on the modern leaning side. So to have somebody come in and bring farmhouse chic into your life is hysterical to me, because I'm thinking Scott hates this.
Well, I thought I hated it. But hear me out on this. So this was one of these.
I all of a sudden love a rustic pig.
Well, okay, so certain things here, let me help describe it. So I completely had the wrong impression of what this was supposed to be. So my house had a bit of a modern look, but then again, I don't really have much taste. I'm like, okay, simple is great. But that being said, now I'm beginning to understand this, but boy, she got me good. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I'm beginning to understand this now. It's not meant to look like a barn. There are certain things that have a distressed look to them. You know how distressed, like you might have a dresser that has a bit of a distressed look to it.
Yep, shabby chic.
A great example is you recently put a new bathroom in your house? It's your bathroom.
Yes.
In your house. And from what people have said, anytime, and you've said it yourself, anytime someone comes to your house and sees this, they said, oh, this is very Alley.
This actually just happened this past weekend. I had friends in from Cleveland, and they said, this is the most you bathroom we have ever seen.
And the best way to describe it for anyone that might not know or may not make it to your house is you look like you moved from Palm Springs 1965.
Yeah, I have a lot of like 50s, 60s in my house in general. That's like the vibe of everything in my house is very vintage looking. And not even just the bathroom, but I had my friend Christy stopped over the other day, and she was like, this house is so you. And she even said, does Zach, is he okay with like his stamp is not anywhere on this house at all? I don't think he loves it.
Oh, really? Because
No.
I've freely said, please, this is an open palette. Go to town.
No, you said that, but I'm telling you, it's going to be like us. Because Zach said that too when we first were talking about buying a house. And I said, well, I really have this style I like. Yeah, you go and do whatever you want. All of a sudden, I was really making my mark, and he wanted to change things. Or no, I don't like this. To the point where my friend Danielle was like, stop telling him what you want to do and just do it.
Just do it.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with you, is that she's going to start bringing in stuff, and I think you're going to come to work and be like, I don't like that.
Well, I thought at first, because like I said, I thought it was a very, Applebee's circa 1999 where, everything's hanging crooked on the walls. And at first I thought that's what it was. Well, I think she's on to me as far as not quite understanding what the look totally is, because the few things that she's brought in already as a starting thing is I really like. Like there was a couple of the saying plaques, and I'm going to butcher one. I know I'm not going to get it right, but they were actually really funny. Was oh God, it was something about being crazy. And it was funny. It was not like live, laugh, love, or our house is, it's
Blast
not
this mess.
Yeah, right. It's not that. It's like farmhouse chic with an attitude. Does this make sense?
It does. I still don't think it's you.
But I won't know until it's totally done. And I told her, I said, go. It's an open palette.
It's like the cheeseburger sub thing from the other day. Scott just does not ever want to. I don't even think you ever want to rock the boat with anything. So the other day, his girlfriend calls and says something about like she picked him up a sub.
Well, it was for her. I got the leftover, but I'm happy with the leftover.
Well, let me just tell the story as I see it, please, and thank you.
Okay.
So she had obviously was going to be giving you the sub or whatever, and you said, "Oh, okay. What flavor? What flavor? What kind is it?" And she said cheeseburger sub. So he has her on speaker, and she, as soon as she says cheeseburger sub, he's like, "Oh, sounds great." And then he's nodding his head back and forth. No, like, ew, yuck.
All right, when it comes to subs, I prefer an Italian sub. I'm not going to lie.
I know, but
it wasn't for me. It was her. I just got the leftovers and I was happy to eat them, which I did.
I think it's funny that like you wouldn't even say anything like, no, thank you or whatever.
Oh, no,
or like, I don't like it.
I'll eat it.
Even though you on the phone, you're like, no, oh, no.
Well,
and then he's trying to pawn the sub off on me, by the way.
Well, it was big. There was a lot. I mean, I'm like, do you want some of it?
Do you want some? Because I really don't want this up.
So at any rate, I was, and she's on to the fact that I don't quite get how it all comes together, because I think you have to have an eye to be able to decorate in this style and have it work. Much like you have an eye for something of the 50s. If I just went out and got you something of a weird pink color, you might say, oh, thank you, but never really put it on display. Like you have a certain look that it fits to what it's going to be.
This happens all the time. So I have a mint green kitchen with a lot of cherry accents and a lot of 1950s appliances and things like that. So people think because I love cherries to get me everything cherry.
Yeah, right.
But then what happens is they'll buy me like cherry rustic and it never gets displayed ever. I'm like, shove that somewhere. And then when they come to visit, I bring it out.
Yeah, well, exactly. So kind of what I'm doing, because I want her to be able to do whatever she wants to do with it. And I know she's got a lot of stuff. And actually a lot of it is pretty cool. How it all gets put out and laid out or put up or whatever. Do what you want to do with that. That's totally fine with that. I'm beginning to see that it's going to work. I didn't know how it would work, but she was on to me with that, because she sends to me the other day this, I think it was on Pinterest. It was an octopus paper towel holder. So I want you to envision you put the paper towels over it and it looked like the head was at the top and all 8 of the tentacles were at the bottom curled up for the feet.
Yep.
All I could say, and I look at Allie, was, well, at least it won't tip over because it's got so many feet on it.
Yes.
And I actually had to ask, I'm like, is this for real? Like, because she has a pig paper towel holder and it's cute. It really is. I'm not going to lie. It's cute.
I'm sure.
It really is. And
even if it wasn't, you wouldn't say anything.
But I honestly thought it was cute. I really did. I'm like, okay, that works really cool.
It's like the cheeseburger sub of paper towel holders.
Well, I just don't, I keep wanting the cheeseburger sub to be better than it is. And it's not that it's a bad sub, great sub place. I'm looking for the capicola.
Right. With the banana peppers and all that. So
I'm living with this for a couple days going, is that real? Is that real? Well, she finally broaches it with me. She goes, what'd you think of the paper towel holder? All I could answer with was, at least it won't tip over. And she goes, I know, it made me laugh. And I'm like, oh, so that's not what you wanted. She goes, no, I thought it was really over the top. I'm like, okay, this is proving to me this is going to work as far as the decorative style goes of what it's going to be.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you could hate it and you're still going to live with it.
You just want me to hate it so you can laugh at me. I don't think I'm going to. Honestly, can I tell you what it is? And this is where the nice part of this comes from, except for the octopus paper towel holder, because, man, you got to have I don't know where that would work. But it makes it feel very homey. And I don't know if it's because the house is so damn big. And it has had a modern aesthetic. It's got very modern lines. It's not that it was decorated overly modern. It was decorated more, not much, but it had these very modern lines and angles.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, how is it all gonna work? Because it doesn't look like a traditional colonial house where this style might work in it here. But now I'm seeing things come in and I'm going, I actually think this might work. It's got this homey vibe to it.
You just wait until all the cow print stuff comes in the kitchen.
That's not what she's into. Now, there is nice checkered paper, there's nice checkered towels. Well, here, let me give you a great example. So
you're really selling it.
I am, because here's a great example of she's got the eye. So we have a runner now on this 11-foot island that I have in the kitchen. It's not really 11 feet. It's like maybe, I don't know, like 8, but
10 and a half.
10 and a half. So she's got a runner on it. Now, if it was all going to be something that is like, get ready, we're going to be hanging the barn doors, then I'd be concerned. No, it's got this kind of modern, like, I'm going to call it squiggle design in it. Mm-hmm. It works with it. So somehow she has found a way to incorporate the best of both worlds. The keeping the modern lines, but adding in the pig paper towel holder.
Do you think I'm convinced?
I guess we're going to have to all see this when this is done. I think it's going to work. I really do.
I'm not convinced.
I really do think it's going to work.
I think it also sounds really weird in a very modern kitchen that you have, because you did a big endorsement, I don't know, like 6 months ago or something.
God, a year ago.
Oh, a year ago.
Over a year ago now,
And so Scott's got like white marbling.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm finding it can't be sterile. And it is a pretty sterile room. So I think that's going to help a little bit, having some some of this in there. And honestly,
some roosters.
I'm not going to lie to you when I tell you it gives me a very homey feeling. And now seeing it,
mm-hmm.
I've realized something. I love my house, but it never felt totally homey.
Well, that's also different too, because it goes back to the whole it goes back to a conversation of when you're traveling, or say you go to an event and some people go, oh, well, I didn't have a good time. A lot of times you don't have a good time because you're not with the people that you should have a good time with.
Well, there you go.
So that's a different story too, because you weren't having a good time with all the people in your house prior to. Where
incredibly diplomatic.
Right, exactly. And because I think we've all been in relationships where my home didn't feel like home. And now my home feels like home. It feels like home with the people in it. And it's also my decoration that I love.
Well, and I think it works for everybody. And yes. I think, you know what it is?
What?
I think you don't know me in this regard because, I know you with your design because I've always known you to have that design and that style. And for me, I guess I've never really had it set this way where it was properly done. That's another big thing too. And I want to point this out.
Okay.
It's really easy to mess up any decorative style, look, you just proved it. The cherry thing. Mm-hmm. People don't necessarily get it unless it's being done right. And I want to say you do it right. I've been to your house a few times and it works. It just, yes, it's a style and it's your style and I couldn't pull off your style. And I freely admit that, but it works and it's something cool. It's an aesthetic to see when I get to your house to be like, all right, I like this. That makes a lot of sense. She knows what she's doing with doing it. So mm-hmm. It's not going to be, because some people will just literally throw up on a wall or whatever, a style. And you're just like, whoo, or whatever, or it's a mishmash and it doesn't quite work. It takes a touch. And that's where the compliment comes in is I'm seeing the touch beginning and starting to come together, I think it really is going to work. But in the beginning, she got me because that paper towel holder, I swear to God, I'm like, am I going to have to tell her an octopus paper towel holder is just...
Am I going to have to actually speak up?
I mean, is it going to...
Am I going to have to actually say something that might be a little controversial?
Yeah, well, she was busting my chops, and I was like, oh, whew,
this is
God.
the biggest Scott thing ever.
I was like, thank God, though, because I'm like, no, that won't work. So bring in the pig. Bring in the pig paper towel holder.
Oh,
I'm
my
ready.
gosh. Yeah.
And we'll see. If a washboard makes it on the wall as a decoration, it's what's around it that works. That's the key to it.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you this.
Oh, my
This was
God.
a weird one. We were at a friend's house, and they also have a bit of a farmhouse, but yet also a modern aesthetic. It's not like walking into a barn. Like, it worked. And, lots of wood and things like that. But the one thing that threw me, they had stones in their sink, like actual stones. And this was part of the decoration.
I've never seen that before.
It took me a minute, and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. But I'm like, oh, it was like literally they had put in the sink. It was a raised bowl.
Yep.
Like you would get when you were in the 1800s to go splash your face before you went to the corral to shoot somebody or the saloon. And it had stones in the bowl. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting look. I didn't get that one.
You should have taken a picture.
I will. We'll go back and visit our friend again, and I'll take a picture.
Okay, good. Because I can't picture it for some reason.
And it was, but again, in their house, it worked. And their house felt really good. Like, it felt comfortable sitting there. I'm not saying we're putting stones in our sink.
You never know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We have to take a quick 30, but I have a new form of, I think, foreplay for you. Talk about that in a second. And also, I have a dog sitting thing here, but you'll just wait 30 seconds.
Okay.
The Not for Air podcast is brought to you by Allison Aesthetics. What started out as me wanting juicier, plumper lips, well, then I found out that Allison Aesthetics was so much more. Got this amazing facial. You can see the glow there. And then a little bit of Botox just to get rid of some fine lines and wrinkles and prevent them too. And then I found out they do hair removal. Yes, please. And it didn't even hurt. I swear, it didn't hurt. Make sure you follow Allison Aesthetics online and book with them today.
We're back, and where do you want to go first? Foreplay? Well, why don't we start with foreplay, because it takes a while to get it ramped into actual play. Hey, now.
Foreplay, definitely. Tickling could help you reach the big O. I don't agree with this at all.
No.
Now, every time I get tickled, I always say, no, okay, actually, there's two things. Especially
I guess it depends what I'm tickling.
Especially at the very beginning of a relationship, when Zach and I first got together. Big tickler. Loves tickling. And it was super fun.
He was the tickler or
he
the
was
ticklee?
the tickler. He was the tickler. And it was super fun. And I remember when we first started dating that I was telling one of our coworkers, because, when you first start dating somebody, everybody wants to know, oh, how's it going? And I remember telling Megan, as our coworker, he definitely brings me back to very just carefree. And yes. I love that.
That's a great place to be in a relationship.
Yes.
When you can be carefree. But if they can help you escape whatever it is, God, that's great.
Yes, but
don't add to my stress.
He does it now sometimes, and I get annoyed. I'm like, stop tickling me.
That's the way all tickling goes. Okay, so it starts out with a quick, wow, that was a lot. And then within a couple seconds, what happens? Stop. Knock it off. So there's the long form tickling and the short form tickling. It's not foreplay. No.
Right, exactly. And I'm never getting tickled reaching the peak there. Because you have to get, or maybe I'm doing it wrong, because you have to get annoyed to then, I think, if we're going to do a long form tickle, then I'm going from, you're right, carefree to I'm really pissed off.
Yes.
And I would never reach the big O.
No, because every tickle, you think it's funny, it's a funny shock, and then it moves to being pissed off and stop right away.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying stop in a good way.
No. Well, hello.
Yes.
No, you're right. You're 1,000% right.
I think that it could absolutely help in being in that carefree presence.
Okay, here's where the tickle works. You're standing in the kitchen, and it's just the two of you, and, all of a sudden it's a quick, and then you're making out, and you go from there. Any further tickling is going to kill it.
Right. It can't be a 5-minute tickle.
No, because what do you want to do? You're saying stop, get away from me, enough.
Right.
No more.
60 seconds max. Well, I mean, we definitely have like tickled each other. I'm very ticklish. So we've definitely tickled each other enough where it's like, okay, this was really funny, but yeah, this ain't funny anymore.
No. Every tickle starts funny for a split second and goes to agitated and angry very quickly.
Okay, I'm going to get to the dog thing in a second, but the dog thing's a little more on the serious side. So before I get to that, is now inmates are starting their own orchestras. Well, they're not starting it. There is programs where they get to be chosen if they have good behavior. And one of the things they're learning is like the cello and the violin. You know how they'll do...
You know, there's something to this.
I think so too. I love this idea because they have different programs where it might be you're sewing or you're doing the laundry or whatever. There's something, you're doing something on good behavior. I love this idea of you're so much more. You're thrusting in potential into them.
Well, and there's discipline that comes with music.
Yep.
It's a very mathematical form of art because of all the musical notes. So you're inadvertently sometimes learning something. Here's what I like about it. I'm sorry, I'm repositioning multiple times. For some reason, my leg fell asleep.
I didn't even notice.
So here's the thing. I'm not an expert on prison. In fact, quite honestly,
I'm glad you're not.
Look at these hands. They're
Right.
not built for prison. But I don't know what that means, but we'll go with it.
Yeah.
So
Soft.
Also not really built to hold a screwdriver, but that's my hang up. But anyway, it seems like years and years and years ago. So we have a bit of a history of prisons in the area we live.
And I think that's why this interests me so much.
So did you know many, many years ago, from what I understand or what I've heard, and I'm not an expert, the Hill, which is now, we have maximum security prisons around us. But many, many decades ago, I'm talking way back in the day, prisons were more of, I'm going to say, an isolated area, but you did planting, you did farming, you did different things. Like, you didn't go to your cell, have to stay there, get out to go have a meal, maybe have a half hour in the yard, back in, and it wasn't this whole... like you were being used to have some sort of a purpose.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, and I'm no expert, but wouldn't it help many, many people that are in prison, maybe not somebody that's a danger to others still. And I'm not saying that prisoners aren't a danger. I'm just saying, if you're Manson, you should not get what I'm about to talk about. Okay. But if you are someone that was caught up in something or whatever, wouldn't it make sense to do something where these people can be more productive? Yes, they have to serve time. But if you're out hoeing the land or you're out, and I'm not talking minimum security, give people a purpose. I've always said this, if people have a purpose in life, whether it's a job, whether it is something, you feel better about yourself. You want to do better. You want to be something. And
yeah,
I think it would help.
I do too. That job comparison, I think, is huge, especially for this upcoming generation. And I know we talk about work a lot because obviously we work together, and it's something that we always hone in on. But this generation wants more than just money. And just recently it came up about a salesperson who wanted more thank yous. And the response was, well, isn't her commission check her thank you? No, that's not how it works. So she wants purpose. She wants to feel valued. And I think that that's the same with inmates too, is they're like, we're still people. Yeah, did I do a real shitty thing?
Sure.
I sure did. But that's where some of them, especially the good behavior thing is, but I want to do better. Or I know.
Or show them they can do better.
Exactly.
A lot of people that get stuck in the criminal system are people that did not know better, that were raised in a certain way, or their surroundings took them to that. And sometimes if you can pop them out of that shell and show them that they're worth more, or they might be that. And look on the bright side. If you got somebody in jail, I don't know, they were growing acres of marijuana. Clearly you got a farmer on your hands.
Yeah, right?
Let them
Like,
teach how to do tomatoes.
Right. Utilize some of their skills.
Sure.
Definitely. So that's why I think it's a great idea. It's just something different, something unique. And like you said, very disciplined. Now, if one of them like murdered somebody with a cello stick, well, then that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, there's that. There's that possibility.
Now, I know we have to go quick on this last one because Scott has somewhere he has to be. And like,
I know this is a rarity. This time it's my time to have a meeting.
Yes, so I'll do it as quickly as possible. It is on the serious side, but I kind of get the dog drop off. Okay, so it starts with 2 friends, and one of them said, "Can you watch my dog for 2 weeks? I'm going to go back home." I'm going to just hypothetically use Georgia, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to go back home to see my family for 2 weeks in Georgia. Can you watch my dog? So the dog ends up peeing everywhere, getting in fights with my dog. It's a tumultuous, it's a nightmare is what it is, watching this dog. So after 2 weeks, then I call my friend and say, "Hey, can you come get your dog?" She doesn't respond. I get on Instagram and, I'm trying to get a hold of her on Instagram. She blocks me. So,
oh my God.
Wait, it gets to a point in this story where I end up going, I can't handle this dog anymore. I'm going to take it to the SPCA. She obviously doesn't want her dog, but I can't handle her dog either because I've got my own dog. I've got my own situation. So drop them off at the shelter. So now it's 3.5 weeks. She comes back and is like, "Hey, I want to come get my dog." Well, no, I already took your dog to the shelter. She is pissed.
I don't think she has the right to be.
I don't think so either. This is that one weird case, as much as I love dogs, that, listen, you didn't communicate with me. You blocked me on Instagram?
Yeah.
Then yeah. And now she's like, "Oh, I'm going to sue you for dumping my dog." Well, no, you can't sue me. First off and foremost.
I agreed to 2 weeks.
Right. And here's the shelter that I took it to. So go ahead and go try to get your dog.
So I do have one question. Normally, think of your circle of friends and the people that if you were in a situation, they might ask you to watch a dog.
Oh, absolutely. I have been asked. Yeah.
Okay. Is there no one else or no way you can reach any of their family? I guess the only thing I would say, this is the only thing I would say about that. Before doing the SPCA drop, I would have made an effort to get a hold of her brother or the mother or...
Well, you have to think of it like me. She was going home to visit her family in Georgia.
Yeah, because you're your only family here. But I mean, you have Zach. Well, no, I know. But you as Allie Payne, there's no other Paynes here. You don't have an aunt here. Your mom's not here. They're 5 hours away. So, I see...
The only other thing, bringing in a circle of friends into it, the only other thing that could have been done is asking another friend in our circle to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then after I just had the terrible 3.5 weeks with the, peeing all over my stuff, eating all of my, couch cushions and all of that, I wouldn't want to do that to another friend of mine. Give it to somebody who through the SPCA, they can find somebody to say, you need to be very patient with this dog.
Yeah, I think here's the thing, and mildly tiptoeing on the legal side of this, the agreement was originally 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'll give you 2 weeks and a couple days because maybe something happened. The second part of it is she blocked you. So you had no way to get a hold of anyone else and do anything, and you just couldn't take it anymore. And although it is a sad situation, sometimes you have to make a tough call to say, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Now,
I fulfilled my responsibility and then some.
And my other thing that I'm thinking about is she going to come back and be like, I needed a mental health break to try to use that to manipulate you in the way you feel. And I'm not down with that either, because she could have told you, and this would have been the mature thing to do, even partway through you having the dog for 2 weeks. If she was like, I am home and I'm not doing so great. I need some more time. Then you would have probably been like, I'll go out of my way for my friend. But at the point that it reached, no, you didn't do the wrong thing. I hate to say it. You take that dog and get it to the shelter and say, please find it a good home.
It sounds like she needed a break from her own dog. And on top of that,
it sounds like she might have needed a break from life.
Well, but it sounds like she was dumping the dog, knowing, oh, well, Allie's a great dog owner.
Yeah.
Dumping the dog.
Don't take advantage of me.
Right. And then, oh, well, I really miss him though.
Yeah.
No, you don't get to dick me around.
No. Yeah, I agree with you totally. That's and you're right. We're both dog lovers. I mean, my gosh.
Yes.
That's not the issue here. The issue is taking advantage of a person's good nature. And at some point,
that's exactly right.
You got to go, I just can't anymore, you know?
Right. As much as I love dogs, I can't save all of them. I wish I could.
Now, you do realize there are going to be people that are going to say, well, did she make every effort possible to reach anyone? Like, even if they were friends on Instagram, you can't tell me somebody they knew was not out there they could reach out to. But again, you can't lay the blame on the person that made the agreement, you, for 2 weeks and maybe a couple days of the dog, and then it gets made even bigger. I mean, I'm sorry. I have to eliminate that as a, well, you shoulda. Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Okay? No. Get your dog or message me and say, I'm in the hospital. I don't know.
Well, it's also me as the dog watcher. It's not my responsibility to try to hunt you down and find you, or not my responsibility to try to contact some family member. I have the number for you.
Yeah.
And I went above and beyond by keeping the dog a week and a half longer. So it's not as if I wasn't already empathetic to the dog for a certain amount of time.
And you saw what that dog was doing. And because here's the thing, and this will be my last comment on this.
Okay.
Do you suppose she was going to come forward after taking advantage like that? And I say taking advantage, and suddenly go, what do I owe you for the damage? I.e. carpet cleaning, or, oh my God, the couch has to be replaced.
Yep.
Whatever. She ain't going to do it.
No,
it's
exactly.
Not happening. Now, that would make me feel, a little different about it.
And that's also a friend I am willing to lose. I don't care.
I think she showed her moral compass.
Right. Even if now the only exception, and now I'm just throwing in hypotheticals.
Well, but you got it because people think this way.
Right. The only exception, you're right, is if she got like grossly sick and she was in a hospital in Georgia.
How about kidnapped in Venezuela and could not make a phone call? That one might be the answer.
That's about it. Other than that, you blocked me, and you blocked me on purpose.
Yeah.
You were trying to dump your dog on me.
Yeah, you're right. Wow.
So
well, we agree on that.
Yes. Well, Scott has a meeting, so he has to go.
I do. This is one of my times that I got to jump into it there, and Lord only knows what's going to happen. So.
Well, we will see you guys next week, but make sure you are liking, following, sharing, subscribing. Our social has been on fire lately.
Oh, you are on. She is the queen.
So
the queen.
Make sure you're following us on social because there's always something going on, and we'll see you later.
Well, that was fun. Wasn't that fun? That was fun. Do us a favor, will you? Subscribe. Share the Scott and Allie Not For Air podcast. Touch our buttons. We know you want to.